Good afternoon, and this is TTT Live and the TTT Live online on Facebook. I'm Dike with a COVID-19 review. The Minister of National Security, Stuart Young, is concerned that people are finding loopholes to conduct business. Speaking at the Daily Ministry of Health COVID-19 media briefing, Minister Young says this will bring more harm than good.
Persons buying maybe 10 loaves of bread, putting it in their storefront and claiming to be a bakery. Persons all of a sudden selling mops and brooms and some disinfectant and saying that they are a grocery store. These attempts to circumvent the regulations and the measures that are designed to protect us, the population, really just make everyone's life that much more difficult.
Also at today's media briefing, the Minister of Health, Terence Deyalson, gave information on the latest expanded testing carried out.
You would recall we started our surveillance testing last week, Tuesday, at selected health centers. 63 of those tests under the surveillance program were tested, and all have come back negative thus far. So 63 surveillance tests done from Tuesday, all negative thus far.
The minister continued with information on other tests and on those people discharged, the number which increased on Tuesday. Now, moving forward, we have Nisha Ramdas. She's an energy analyst. She's here to speak about the current oil prices, the context in which it is happening, and some possibilities moving forward. So we say good afternoon, Ms. Ramdas. All right, so we say good afternoon, Ms. Ramdas, and we ask you for the current status of global oil prices.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Ms. Ramdas. Happy to have you agreeing to this time.
We have seen this precipitous drop in the price of WTI crude oil, and
all right, continue. Thank you.
So we can see that after this drop, the entire, pardon me?
No, we're just asking you to continue. There seems to be a little bit of lag, but yes, I'm going to stop talking and allow you to have that opening salvo.
Okay, no problem. Again, thanks for having me today. So we could see that this week there was this precipitous drop in the WTI crude oil price, right? And there was a bit of confusion as to how it's going to affect Trinidad and Tobago. And I think what we need to clear up is the reasons why this is happening and how it's going to affect us and how we're going to move forward. So there are two oil prices which we pay attention to. There are more than two actually, but two we usually focus on. There's WTI and there's crude. So with regards to WTI, that is used mainly in the US. 2/3 of the oil in the world use Brent crude, the Brent crude price. And in Trinidad, we use WTI as the benchmark price when we're calculating our budgets and such. But with regards to Heritage, which is responsible for about half of our oil production, they tend to veer towards the pricing of Brent. So we usually pay, Brent is usually about WTI plus $5 or more, right? So we usually have a higher price. So while this WTI price affects, we need to focus on the fact that the Brent price is higher than WTI. Now, both have been at a low point that the world has ever seen, the lowest point the world has ever seen in about 1920 years. So we can't tell that both are really low, right? So we need to figure out why is this happening. So one of the major reasons is WTI. The price is affected by, well, it's heavily determined by what's going on in Cushing, Oklahoma, right? So in Cushing, Oklahoma, the land, it's landlocked. It's not close to the coast or anything. So the storage there is limited. So if they're running out of storage now and contracts are ending, supply contracts, then they're going to have this buildup of oil just there stored. Because as you can tell with COVID, the demand for energy commodities, which is oil and natural gas, has dropped. So we just have this storage of oil just there piling up. And the reason why the price dropped to that low point this week is because of the fact that they're basically paying people to take oil off their hands so that storage will be freed up, because it will cost way less to pay people to take the oil off their hands than to actually stop production. Because once they stop production, companies start to suffer in a huge way. So those are the reasons why the price has dropped so much over the past week. We need to think about how it's going to affect Trinidad. So we've seen that Heritage now has decided to stop all exports and they've decided to store. So why is that happening? So we can tell from the articles and information, media releases, and that sort of stuff put out by Heritage. They said that it's costing about $25 to produce a barrel of oil. So now, if they're producing a barrel of oil, it costs $25 to produce a barrel, and they're selling around the same price, then they're basically barely breaking even. So, in their opinion, it makes more sense to store this than to sell it at a lower price over a period of time. Now, we need to take into consideration as well, we transitioned from an oil-based economy to a natural-based economy. And while we depend on oil revenue, we also depend on natural gas revenue primarily. So we need to realize that there's a relation between the oil price and the natural gas price. So when one drops, the other drops as well. So we need to take into consideration that we use natural gas to generate a big part of our revenue. So products such as ammonia, methanol, liquefied natural gas, or LNG, are byproducts of natural gas. So if we're combating low prices, low production, we need to figure out what state of the economy we're going to experience and how we're going to move forward from that. So I paid special attention to a media conference that the Minister of Finance did. I think it was around the 10th, 11th of March. And he gave some useful figures, and he told us basically that, there are several options open to us. So we can access the HSF, which is the Heritage Stabilization Fund, but that can only be done after the fiscal year, which is around September, October. So in the short term, we don't have much that we can do unless we amend the HSF Act, allowing us to access quarterly instead of yearly. So that's one option. He also mentioned the option of borrowing. He also mentioned the option of selling assets. He didn't indicate which assets will be sold, but he did say that, right? We also need to sit down as a country and we need to figure out like exactly what is going to take place and how is this going to affect us. So we're getting hit from different forefronts. We got hit with the COVID forefront where we had to put a halt on most operations. Only essential operations are allowed to take place right now. So we're going to experience a lot of job losses. We're going to experience we're going to experience decreased revenue, obviously, because remember, with supply and demand, if prices drop, then our revenue will drop as well, right? So we're going to experience decreased revenue. We're going to experience economic instability. So if we're not getting the revenue that we projected, we're going to have a loss, right? So in the fiscal budget of 2019, we used an oil price of $60 and a gas price of $3, if I'm not mistaken. So this had to be amended to account for what's going on in the world right now. So it was amended to, I think, $40 a barrel and the wellhead price of gas, which is 180. So the projected loss around there is about it. Initially, with COVID and everything, they said that it was going to be 5 billion. Then they added an additional 3.5 billion to that. So we're experiencing a loss of roughly $8.5 billion. So obviously, we're going to experience some sort of economic instability. Apart from these three things that I mentioned before, we need to also take into consideration regional instability, because we have Venezuela at our borders, who is also in the oil game. We have Guyana, who's also experiencing not only their emerging energy sector, but their recent issues with regards to the elections. So all these things are happening within our region, and energy has a huge role to play in that because all three of us, Guyana, Venezuela, soon Suriname, we all have a stake in the energy business, right? So we need to take these things into consideration and we need to plan now what's our way forward because I think that the country has seen what has been going on for the week and the citizens have become panicked. And I think we need to figure out a way forward in order to maybe calm some nerves in the public and reassure the public that, you know what, we know what's going on. We're going to do this, we're going to do that.
In terms of planning that way forward and coming together and saying, okay, well, this may be the best way to move in terms of the context, I think it's a beautiful opportunity for us to ask for your take on what are some of the movements that should be made going forward as far as possible in these uncertain times.
I think moving forward, there are many things that could be said. We could do a million and one different like practices, activities, policy changes, all these things, right? But I think at this point, we need to weather the storm. Honestly, that's what I think. We need to weather the storm. We're at a point right now where we have this is a pivotal point in history, especially for us. And I think that we should use this now as an opportunity to do all the things that we said we were supposed to do in the past. So we were supposed to diversify the economy. We were supposed to have a transition to renewables. We were supposed to diversify our energy mix in Trinidad and Tobago so that we won't be so dependent on this one commodity where if this commodity drops, our economy drops. If this commodity falls through, our economy falls through. We shouldn't have all our eggs in one basket. And I think this is a learning point for us.
All right, so Nisha Ramdas, we want to thank you so much for spending the time with us and giving us your take. And as we say to everyone right now, stay safe. That is what is trending on COVID-19. Remember, you can join us for live coverage on TTT, Chalk City 91.1 FM, Suite 100, Next 99.1 FM, as well as on Facebook at TTT Live Online for all your COVID-19 updates. Thank you for joining us. On behalf of the TTT crew, I'm Dike Rostant.